To think about him being who he is, being an MVP, knowing that the defense is coming at him, and for him to be able to bat singles and not make the home run pass every time speaks volumes, though, because most guys like that is like, I need to keep my stat line up.
Yeah.
I need to keep the pressure on them to make sure that I'm this or I'm that. He could care less.
At one point this season, the Oklahoma City Thunder were defending at a level 6.6 points per 100 possessions, better than the rest of the league.
Rebound, tip to Reeves. Caruso comes from behind, knocks him down, and takes the steal. Here's Holmgren. Caruso, three-pointer, puts it in.
At one point this season, the Oklahoma City Thunder were defending at a level 6.6 points per 100 possessions, better than the next best defense in the NBA. A gap that big almost doesn't make sense. The league hasn't seen separation like that in more than 30 years. But that suffocating defense is only part of the story. Over the last 3 seasons, the Thunder have gone a perfect 12-0 in first-round playoff games. This year, they also went 39-10 without their second leading scorer, a situation that usually sends contenders backward. And even with an MVP like Shai, Gilgeous-Alexander leading the way, Oklahoma City has something almost nobody else can match: elite depth.
Been on the floor, Gilgeous-Alexander. MVP, down 2 on opening night. Pull up, SGA. Ties the game at 104.
That's why the entire Western Conference should be paying attention. The Oklahoma City Thunder have stacked 3 things in their favor that make them feel almost impossible to solve: elite defense, elite depth, and a superstar who controls every possession. The most unsettling part? The team that eventually beats them might not even exist yet. That is why the NBA has an Oklahoma City problem. The Thunder entered this season with a target on their backs. They were defending champions, chasing history, and trying to prove last year was not a one-off. If there is one reason they look capable of doing it again, it starts with something less flashy than highlights: defense. During the 2024-25 season, Oklahoma City turned the old phrase, defense wins championships, into an identity. They led the league in defensive efficiency, protected the paint better than anyone, and erased transition opportunities before they even developed. That formula produced a franchise record 68 wins and the first championship in team history. This season, that identity has only got sharper. The Thunder exploded out of the gate with a 23-1 start, the second best opening ever by a defending champion, behind only the 24-0 start by the 2015-16 Golden State Warriors. But what drove that start was not hot shooting or easy scheduling. It was a level of defense the league almost never sees. At their peak, Oklahoma City allowed just 104.1 points per 100 possessions. That alone is elite. What made it historic was the gap. They were 6.6 points better than the second-ranked defense. Over the previous 29 seasons, the biggest difference between the top defense and second place was only 2.6. The Thunder did not just lead the league. They nearly doubled the largest separation of the modern era. Even when those numbers settled, the standard never dropped. Oklahoma City still finished first in defensive rating at 106.5, 2.4 points ahead of the second-place Detroit Pistons. That kind of consistency is what makes them dangerous. Most great defenses peak for stretches. The Thunder made it their baseline. And when a team can defend like that every night, everything else becomes harder for the rest of the league.
Racing up the floor, going right at Holmgren. It rolls off the rim. Booker there. Oh, and a rejection by Holmgren.
What makes Oklahoma City so dangerous is that these numbers don't just exist on paper. They show up every single night. Opponents average just 107.9 points per game against the Thunder, the second lowest mark in the entire league. But the real damage shows up in how those points are created, or more accurately, how hard they are to create. Team shot only 43.7% from the field against OKC, the worst shooting percentage allowed by any defense this season. That means every possession turns into a battle for clean looks, and most nights, the offense loses that battle. And this pressure isn't accidental. It's built into everything they do. Oklahoma City forces 9.7 steals per game, one of the highest rates in the league, turning defense directly into offense. Passing lanes are constantly shrinking, ball handlers are under immediate stress, and even simple actions feel rushed. But what makes it even more impressive is balance. While they're forcing turnovers, they're also incredibly careful with the ball themselves, averaging just 12 turnovers per game. That swing creates extra possessions without giving anything back. They also shut down transition at an elite level, allowing just 12 fast break points per game, best in the NBA. So even when opponents try to run, there's nowhere to go. And inside the paint, where games are usually won or lost, OKC allowed just 41.6 points per game, again first in the league. None of this happens by accident. It comes from a roster built for defense from the ground up. In the paint, Chet, Holmgren, and Isaiah Hartenstein form one of the most disruptive front courts in basketball, protecting the rim, switching actions, and erasing mistakes before they become points.
Right in trouble, turned it over. Edge comes with speed the other way, but Holmgren able to right behind the...
Their identity starts at the rim. But what truly separates this defense is how complete it is. There are no gaps, no soft spots to attack, just pressure from every angle. On the perimeter, it only gets worse. Cason Wallace has become a nightmare for opposing guards, averaging 1.9 steals per game, among the best in the league. Then there's Dort, who takes on the toughest defensive assignments every night without hesitation. Even Shai Gilgeous-Alexander plays his part, averaging just 2.2 turnovers per game and eliminating easy transition chances for opponents. So even when the offense cools off, the defense never does. Statistically, this has actually been their weakest defensive season in 3 years, producing just 2.8 points per 100 possessions above league average, down from 5.6 the season before. But it hasn't mattered. Nothing made that clearer than Game 1 against the Phoenix Suns. A team that averaged 112.6 points in the regular season was held to just 84 in a 35-point blowout loss. And that came on a night when Oklahoma City shot only 30.4% from 3 and Shai went 5 for 18. That tells you everything. The Thunder went on to sweep Phoenix in 4 games, making it 3 straight seasons of first-round dominance. A perfect 12-0 record over the last 3 years in opening rounds. Same formula every time. Win the turnover battle, control the paint, and suffocate teams possession after possession. From the start of the series, OKC's interior defense forced Phoenix into tough perimeter looks, while on offense they consistently attacked the paint and widened the gap the Suns couldn't close. That's what makes this team different. They take away the game's easiest answers. No clean fast breaks, no free points of the paint, no rhythm threes. Everything feels earned, and most of it feels uncomfortable. But somehow, the defense isn't even the scariest part. The real fear starts when things go wrong. In the NBA, injuries aren't a possibility, they're a guarantee. Every contender gets tested. And now OKC is facing that reality with Jalen Williams sidelined by a hamstring strain. For most teams, losing a second option would collapse the structure. Offense would stall, rotations would tighten, and margins would disappear. But this team has already been living in that reality all season. They've played 49 games without Williams, 35 without Isaiah Hartenstein, 26 without Alex Caruso, and 25 without AJ Mitchell. Even Shai, Holmgren, and others have all missed time. And yet nothing broke. That's because OKC isn't built on availability, it's built on adaptability. They finished the season 39-10 without Williams, a win rate nearly identical to their overall record. Losing their second best scorer didn't change their identity, it confirmed it. And when adversity stops feeling like an emergency and starts feeling normal, that's when a team stops just competing and starts becoming something far more dangerous. Oklahoma City's bench has been the best in the league for at least the last 2 seasons, and in this first round sweep, that depth completely took over. Even without Jalen Williams or Isaiah Joe, the Thunder still dropped 121 points in Game 3 against Phoenix. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had his best game of the series, but he wasn't carrying it alone. AJ Mitchell stepped into a starting role in place of OKC's second option, and the moment could have swallowed a young player early in his career. Instead, he held firm. He finished with 15 points on 20 shots, not efficient, but that wasn't the point. The story was that a player with fewer than 100 games in the league stepped into a championship-level playoff role and didn't flinch. Mitchell's impact wasn't a one-off either. He built his case all season, averaging 13.6 points, 3.3 rebounds, 3.6 assists, and 1.2 steals per game. Oklahoma City lost just 1 game all year when he was in the starting lineup. Across the Sun series, he averaged 15 points, 5 rebounds, 3.8 assists, and a steal in 29 minutes per night. Then in Game 4, he elevated again, 22 points, 66% from 3, and 6 assists in a closeout performance that felt far beyond his experience level. But Mitchell is just one piece. Cason Wallace, Isaiah Joe, and Aaron Wiggins all stepped into expanded roles when Williams went down and delivered consistently. Wallace, already one of the league's best perimeter defenders and a top 3 steals leader, also showed real offensive growth. In games where both Williams and Gilgeous-Alexander were out or limited, he produced multiple 20-point performances as a secondary creator. Isaiah Joe turned into one of the most reliable shooters in the rotation, averaging 11 points while shooting 42% from 3. Alex Caruso brought the kind of playoff stability that never shows up fully in the box score. 13 points in Game 3 on elite efficiency, plus constant defensive pressure, deflections, and leadership possessions that shift momentum. Even deeper in the rotation, Jared McCain has quietly contributed whenever called upon, keeping the system stable without needing touches. This is what makes Oklahoma City different. The drop-off doesn't exist. Starters go down, and the production doesn't collapse. It redistributes.
The Thunder leading by 5. Here's Jared McCain. His pull-up is good. His first points in an Oklahoma City uniform.
The Oklahoma City Thunder have proven they are not dependent on any single lineup or rotation. Even without Jalen Williams, their system has continued to function at an elite level. Game 3 made that clear, as Oklahoma City outscored Phoenix by 16 points with at least one bench player on the floor at all times. That level of stability reflects a team identity built on depth, adaptability, and relentless execution rather than reliance on individual combinations. Even more impressive was what happened when Shai Gilgeous-Alexander rested. Over a 10-minute stretch without him on the floor, Oklahoma City still managed to outscore Phoenix 20-18 with a unit featuring multiple role players stepping into expanded responsibilities. The group of Mitchell, Wallace, McCain, Holmgren, and Hartenstein maintained control of the game, demonstrating that the Thunder's second unit is not a drop-off but a continuation of their core identity. In Game 4, the pattern continued. With Gilgeous-Alexander off the floor again, Oklahoma City produced 31 points in just 19 possessions, shooting an extremely efficient 11 of 17 from the field and 4 of 6 from three-point range. 5 different players scored at least 5 points during that stretch alone. The message became undeniable. The Thunder do not require one specific player to initiate success. Instead, someone is always ready to step into that role. At this point, it is no longer about who steps up, it is about the certainty that someone always will. That level of roster depth and structural flexibility becomes a problem that opposing teams cannot solve through traditional adjustments. It forces opponents into constant reaction rather than preparation. This is exactly what makes Oklahoma City so difficult to contain and so dangerous in a playoff environment. Any assumption that an injury to Jalen Williams would slow this team down has proven incorrect. If anything, the Thunder have shown an even greater ability to generate production from multiple sources. They have demonstrated that their strength is not tied to any single player, but to a system that creates advantages regardless of personnel changes. The foundation of this dominance is defense. Oklahoma City operates with elite defensive cohesion, switching ability, and discipline. However, the final piece that determines playoff success is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. In postseason basketball, the game is supposed to slow down. Defenses tighten, possessions become more deliberate, and scoring efficiency typically declines under pressure. For most players, this environment creates difficulty. For Gilgeous-Alexander, it has had the opposite effect. He becomes more comfortable, more precise, and more dominant as stakes rise. That is what separates him from nearly every other guard in the league. His preparation throughout the season has been specifically designed for these moments. He led the entire NBA in clutch scoring during the regular season, averaging 6.5 points per game in clutch situations, with a total of 175 clutch points on elite efficiency. His shooting splits in those moments were remarkable. 66.8% true shooting, 51% from the field, and 35% from three-point range. Beyond scoring, he recorded 21 clutch assists while committing only 7 turnovers. Oklahoma City finished 20-7 in clutch games, reflecting both his individual impact and the team's composure under pressure. This performance earned him recognition as Clutch Player of the Year, but it was not a sudden emergence. It was the continuation of a pattern. He had been ranked among the league's top 10 in clutch performance in multiple previous seasons, improving each year as he refined his ability to control late-game situations. His ability to deliver in decisive moments is not theoretical. It has been demonstrated repeatedly, including a signature dagger three-pointer against Denver in March that encapsulated his composure and timing. Across the league's most critical possessions, game-tying and go-ahead shots in the final 2 minutes, he ranks among the very best, with 27 made field goals in those scenarios, second in the entire NBA. What elevates him further is his versatility. Gilgeous-Alexander is effectively matchup-proof. In football terms, this is a player who cannot be schemed out of a game or hidden against a weaker defender. He forces constant defensive compromise. His scoring arsenal includes elite interior finishing, elite mid-range accuracy, consistent foul pressure, and enough perimeter shooting to punish hesitation. He leads the league in points per possession on drives among high-volume attackers, producing 1.2 points per possession. In the mid-range, he is equally dominant, leading all qualified players with 54.9% shooting. Historically, his efficiency places him among a very small group of elite seasons where players have maintained high-volume two-point shooting above 60% efficiency, a list on which he stands as the only guard. He is also among the league's best isolation scorers, averaging 1.22 points per possession, and ranks near the top in pick-and-roll efficiency. His ability to pressure the rim, control the mid-range, and hit off the dribble threes makes defensive planning nearly impossible. Every adjustment defenses attempt only creates another opportunity elsewhere in his game. Against Phoenix, he averaged 33.8 points per game on 55% shooting. In Game 3, he delivered 42 points on 15 of 18 shooting, along with 8 assists and only 3 turnovers. 22 of those points came in the paint, where he was perfect from the field. Every defensive strategy the Suns deployed failed to alter his efficiency or decision-making. His scoring gravity functions like a force that bends defensive structures. When defenses collapse on him, it opens opportunities for teammates. When they stay home, he scores efficiently. This dual threat makes him one of the most difficult players in basketball to contain. Oklahoma City complements this with a roster built for versatility. Their players can switch, rotate, and adapt to any matchup. There is no significant weakness to target. To beat them, everything must align perfectly for the opponent, from shooting efficiency to execution under pressure. Even then, the margin for error is minimal. The Thunder's identity is now defined by 3 pillars: elite defense, unmatched depth, and a superstar who elevates in the most critical moments. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is both the engine and the closer, while the system around him ensures stability regardless of lineup changes. Together, this creates a team that is difficult to disrupt and even harder to defeat over a full series. The question moving forward is which team can realistically challenge them. Whether it is a young core like San Antonio, an experienced contender like Boston, or a star-driven roster like Los Angeles, each faces a different version of the same problem. Oklahoma City does not rely on one solution to win. They have many. That is what makes them the most complete team in basketball right now. Beyond individual brilliance, the coaching structure has amplified every strength this roster possesses. The system emphasizes spacing, defensive communication, and constant motion, allowing role players to operate with confidence. Each possession is designed to create multiple layers of advantage rather than relying on isolation. This makes the offense resilient even when primary creators are off the floor. Defensively, the Thunder's ability to switch across multiple positions removes traditional mismatches. Guards can guard forwards, bigs can contain perimeter actions, and rotations recover quickly without sacrificing structure. This reduces the effectiveness of standard playoff adjustments that typically exploit weaker defenders. Historically, teams with this combination of elite defense, depth, and a transcendent scorer have gone on to define eras. What separates this group is how early they have reached this level of cohesion. They are not dependent on veteran experience, but on synchronized development across the roster. As the playoffs progress, the margin for error shrinks, but Oklahoma City maintains control through consistency rather than volatility. Every opponent must attempt to solve a puzzle that changes shape each game. That adaptability is what makes them uniquely difficult to prepare for over a 7-game series.